Hello, I'm Daniel. I am going to talk to you today about a verse from the text called The 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva. And this verse in particular is sometimes it's called the bad friends verse. And I'm going to read it to you and then I'm going to comment on it, okay? With some friends, the three poisons keep growing. Study, reflection, and meditation weaken, while loving kindness and compassion fall away. Give up bad friends. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. So, giving up bad friends, that's sort of the lesson here. I think, first of all, I'll address the three poisons are attachment, aversion, and ignorance. And I'll talk about those briefly, and then we'll talk more about bad friends. But attachment is fixating on the things you want. And then aversion is fixating on the things you don't want. And really, ignorance to a degree is not knowing the difference. So, fixating. An example I like for attachment is this one time I picked up my daughter from school and she asked me if we could go roller skating that day. And I said no. I am kind of a planner. I don't really like suddenly doing something. So I said no. Like, I've got our day planned already. And she flipped her lid. It ruined her day that I said no to this thing that she suddenly out of nowhere wanted to do. It ruined her day because she was experiencing attachment. The poison of attachment. When we obsessively want something to be different than it is, that's attachment. When we really want something and we can't stop thinking about it, that's attachment. Okay? And then aversion is the flip side of that. It's when we really are stressed out about a thing we don't want. An example I like to use for that is I am really averse to hearing many sounds at the same time. So if there's music and someone's talking to me, if there's a third sound, I am bothered. I won't say annoyed, but I'm bothered and I struggle to pay attention to what's happening. And I lose the thread of any conversation. And I think a lot of people have this condition, but I'm averse to that. But at the same time, I'm trying to manage my aversion, so I'm trying to just be a little bit bothered by it, but not fixate on it, not yell at anybody, not get super annoyed, right? But just be mildly uncomfortable. Same thing, I really don't like elevators. And it's not because I'm afraid the elevator will fall. It's because I don't want to be packed in really close to a bunch of people. I don't like that. But that said, again, I just try to manage that. I'll still get on an elevator if there's people on it. I don't wait for an empty elevator, but I will, if I'm able, take the stairs. I will, because I'm averse to elevators. So, and then ignorance is if you've ever had someone you really wanted to go on a date with, or there's a job you really want, or a car you really want, and once you get that thing, then you realize it's really not. We can see ignorance that way, if it's really not the thing you were thinking it would be. If it's really not that. We can see that as ignorance. So, what the text says is that sometimes you have some friends that make these things grow. And our spiritual practice weaken, right? Our spiritual practice is study, reflection, meditation. That's our spiritual practice. And loving kindness and compassion are things we're trying to cultivate to live in a more awakened way. And sometimes you can have people you spend time with who make you focus the other way. There's really shockingly obvious examples of, like, if I'm getting ready to go meditate, my friend comes and gets me and tries to get me to go to a bar instead or something, right? Those are like, that's a little too obvious, and that's not really what we're talking about. Although that's true, that's a bad influence. But what we're talking about here is this: the people you spend the most time with help to shape the person you are. The people you spend the most time with help to shape the person you are. So, if you're spending time with someone who makes fun of people all the time, or is very rude, that can shape you in subtle ways and in non-subtle ways. That can shape you. So what we want to do is learn to be mindful about who we spend our time with. That's not to say you should cut people out of your life, but it is to say that if you can spend time with people that are on this same spiritual journey as you, or that want to live an awakened life or a mindful life and that want to help others and want to be virtuous, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And when I was in my early 20s, in my 20s really, there was this guy in my group of friends, and he was a friend of a friend, but he was around, so we became friends. But he was really a jerk. He was really just negative all the time and mean to people and talked bad about people and really negative. And if you know me, you may know that person, but I'm not going to say their name. But if you know me, you may know that person. But ultimately, that was influencing me. That was influencing me to become more of a negative person. And actually, people don't believe this when I tell them, but sometimes people that have met me more recently, but I was a very negative person in my 20s too. So I may have been that bad influence for somebody else as well. But because I was a very, very negative person. And I was the kind of person who sees a movie and is sad that it has a happy ending, thinks it's stupid that it has a happy ending, right? That was me. And maybe you know someone like that and maybe you don't, but that was me. I hated everything. It's a really sad thing for me to reflect on. And it's only my mindfulness practice, my Buddhist practice, that has led me to be a more positive person, a more authentic person too. It's really led me to be where I am. So it's very dear to me and very important to me that I have done these spiritual practices. But the point is that if you're spending time with someone who you know is a jerk, who is mean to other people, who is rude, who has non-virtuous goals, that rubs off on you. We tend to think that we are these discrete, independent beings. We make all our own decisions. We are not influenced by the world around us, and that's nonsense. We are influenced by the world around us. We're influenced by the people around us, and it can have a big impact on us sometimes. And so we need to be careful. We need to be careful about where we're putting our energy and where we're spending our time. We don't want to spend a lot of time with people that are bringing us down. We want to spend time with people that are elevating us. That's sort of why, I think that's sort of why spiritual communities exist. So you can be with other people who have the same goals you do, who are trying to elevate themselves, trying to live in a more awakened way, and trying to make the world a better place, because a lot of people aren't doing that, right? A lot of people aren't trying to live in a more awakened way. And so we can really reflect on that and notice where we're putting our time, and we can think, oh, is this hindering my development? Is this hindering my development? That's not to say, again, I don't think, I'm not giving the advice that you should cut people out of your life, but I am suggesting that you should think about where your time's going. You should think about where your time's going. And maybe spend more time with the people you know that are more virtuous, and a little bit less time with the people that are really negative all the time. That's what I think. And this is probably very hard advice for people to take and a very hard thing to think about. I saw a post on a meme on Facebook or something that said, if your date doesn't be nice to the waiter, if your date isn't nice to the waiter, don't go home with them. Something like that, right? And I think that's a very important thing to think about. It's not always about how people treat us, but it's also about how you see people treat other people. I've also seen somebody say you can judge someone based on how they treat animals and things like that. We want good people in our lives. And that's not a judgment thing. That's not a judgment thing, but rather it's just to say, pay attention to how the people around you are influencing you. Pay attention and figure out what you can do about that. Like I said, I spent a lot of time in my 20s hanging out with a guy who was a real jerk, and everybody knew he was a jerk, and I don't see him or talk to him now, but it influenced me, and I know it influenced me in a bad way. And I was a very negative person. I probably influenced other people too, and if I did, I'm sorry for that, because I think we need to learn how to lift each other up. We need to learn how to make this world a better place by working together, by cooperation, by kindness, by compassion, and by mindfulness. These things are so important, and the world needs them so much, and we're getting lost in forgetting these things. So it's really important to just think about how what you're doing is affecting you, because everything you're doing is. And we can put our energy into things that pull us down, or we can put our energy into things that lift us up. So, that's it for today. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and have a good day.